Palace fight. He was victorious in brutal fashion over Brad McDonald. Can we expect to see him come out and carry that aggressive attitude in this fight as well?
I think it's a fight that he could do it in, because if Duarte does want to strike with him, or even if Rivera just believes he wants to strike with him, it should make him feel more comfortable. I think one of the things that hurt Rivera in the UFC is when he's facing more well-rounded mixed martial arts, even if it was just a prospect, and he got tapped out by Eric Koch. Yeah, Koch's a younger guy, didn't have a ton of experience, but Koch is a lot more well-rounded and prepared for the UFC. Rivera is like a tough boxer without a ton of real MMA experience, trying to figure out how to compete in title at bantamweight. Really, even though he's 30 as a UFC vet, he's kind of like a prospect in the States, learning how to be an effective puncher in MMA.
We talked about his stand-up game. You mentioned that you trained with him, Javier. Analyze his jiu-jitsu game. If this fight hits the floor, how comfortable is he going to be on his back, or how comfortable is he going to be working on top of it?
He's a comfortable, well-rounded fighter. He'll be comfortable on the ground. He's not a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he's not looking to be a jiu-jitsu black belt, I don't think. But I tell you what, man, he hits like a truck. He's got great movement. He's very elusive and has great footwork and very fast hands, deceivingly fast hands.
And can he carry that strength of his hands on the floor as well? I mean, we talk about hand power and hand speed. Does that carry on the floor?
You know what? I try not to find out. I try not to get hit on the floor by anybody, especially Francisco Rivera. I wasn't about to test my chin on the ground against him, but thanks for asking.
Still, let's say 5'8" inches tall for Francisco Rivera and Tony Duarte 5'7", both weighed in at 135 pounds. Rivera, the elder, at 30 years of age, and Tony Duarte at 24 years.
Another thing about Eric Koch is a much larger fighter than Francisco Rivera.
Eric Koch is a very large 145-pounder, and a really tough 145-pounder. I mean, there's a reason that he's one of the guys that people are wondering how he's going to fare against Jose Aldo in a year or two.
Bantamweight's in the cage here. Tasha Palace fight 12. Let's go to Jim Martinez and get our official.
Champions, we are set to go. This next attraction, 3 rounds scheduled in the Bantamweight division. Introducing to you first, fighting out of the blue corner, a mixed martial artist standing 5 feet 7 inches tall. Weighing in 135 and 1/2 pounds, he brings an outstanding record into the cage, 13 victories, just 3 defeats. Presentando el hijo de Tijuana, Baja California, México, Antonio, el Tigre Duarte. And his opponent across the cage, fighting out of the red corner, a mixed martial artist standing 5 feet 8 inches tall. Weighing in 134 and 3/4 pounds, his record stands 6 victories and just 2 defeats. He fights out of Buena Park, California. Here is Francisco Rivera. Referee in charge, Jason McCoy.
Jason McCoy getting this bantamweight assignment. Francisco Rivera.
Our fight now. Our pace, our tone. Let's go.
Antonio Duarte in the white with black. Goes Francisco Rivera.
Ankle brace is probably the best way to tell them apart.
White gloves, blue gloves. And they're both throwing those gloves here early. Kick there by Duarte.
Just look at how dialed in Rivera is.
Uppercut, 3 uppercuts.
Rivera's flipping and countering at the same time. A very nice job. Look at that. Beautiful combination.
Cisco landing everything. The uppercut is definitely working for him early.
30 seconds in, and we're seeing flowing, but flowing with technique. Guys throwing straight punches, combination. This is what you want to see with the guys that call themselves strikers in the bantamweight division.
Another thing, too, when Francisco Rivera throws his punches, he sits on his punches very well. He has tremendous balance. Look at that. Head movement, countering, beautiful technique.
And never one punch. 2, 3, 4.
He's throwing 3, 4 punches every time he throws.
He is marked up under the left eye, though. A little bit of a mouth forming.
Just a minute in, absolutely fantastic action here in the bantamweight contest. About fight 12. I'm keeping the standing point with Javier Vasquez. Look at that. That's my good group.
Interesting, Duarte circling to his right. I mean, that's definitely the power hand, and he got tagged with the
done. Well, I'm glad I got that shot in right before the end of the fight.
I'm telling you, one of the things Francisco Rivera does, he lures you in, steps back, and counters beautifully.
My commentary brethren, please look to your left and just look at the blood flowing in the Duarte's face. Just rip.
I'm telling you, man.
He looks dead.
I'm telling you.
Francisco Rivera is predatory. I
feel gruesome watching that.
If we wondered if he was going to be able to follow up his performance over Brad McDonald with something special, we got our answer, and the answer is yes.
I'm telling you, man, I've trained with a lot of guys, and I'm telling you, he's one of the best, if not the best boxers I've ever trained with.
And again, accuracy, no wasted motion. That was a coffin nail.
And look, it just stood over him and looked at him like, what's up? Incredible.
Francisco Rivera has definitely shown off that he is worthy of that title of WEC and UFC veteran with a performance like this, Jordan Green. I won't be surprised if his phone is ringing soon.
Antonio Duarte looks like he is in space. He is down, and even though he's starting to respond to the questions from the doctor, he is in a bad way right now.
That was brutal.
Francisco Rivera has just silly power.
Yeah, I told you, man.
It's more importantly than just power. We talked earlier, Dave Huckabee has power, but this is technique and power coalescing.
He gets you. What he does, he's an outstanding counter striker. He lit me up the first time we sparred. He lit me up, and I wasn't understanding what was he doing. What he does is he lures you in. He says, "Come on." He counters. He moves his head, which nobody does. He moves his head and throws punches at the same time. He clips you with the first one and then drops you with the second.
And that's exactly what he did to Brad McDonald, and that's exactly what he just did to Antonio Duarte. Incredible punching by Francisco Rivera in a very short but thoroughly entertaining bantamweight fight.
I'm interested to see the well-being of Francisco Rivera's right hand. He shook it out a couple of times, and for good reason, because that thing landed hard.
He whipped his head. Watch Duarte's head right there.
Look at that. So, look at that first left hook. He's moving backward. And that last punch, he hits him right underneath the ear. That's not even perfectly clean. He still wipes him out.
Yeah, he clubbed him. The club. He hit him with his forearm on that one.
He basically hit him on the point of the jaw, meeting the rest of the skull. That is just brutal stuff from Francisco Rivera. If he can continue to become that confident in his boxing, you just don't have that many guys in MMA that can step back, flip, rip, and then there's 3 other punches that are coming with that kind of heat.
Guys will slip, but they're not slipping and countering at the same time. This is something I've worked tremendously on.
Just watch this and enjoy it.
Boom. You know what I'm saying?
Watch the faces of the people cage side if you can see them. If you could get a reverse angle of that, people were just agape.
Francisco Rivera making a case for your all-violence team, Jordan Green.
Yeah, all-violence team. I mean, I like to give credit to the guys that knocked out the biggest and baddest dudes, and so far it's his first of the calendar year, but I have to be honest, 135, when I compile that all-violence, it's one of the hardest ones to get to.
See how he steps back and counters? Beautiful.
Just watch the faces, including us. Jeremy Luchow and the floor manager there just look mortified. Oh my God, what happened?
Yeah,
look at you guys. I'm glad we got in the shot for that one.
Well, cameo action is always good stuff. Francisco Rivera definitely doing work here at Top Palace.
Another day at the office. Let me take my gloves off and go get a drink later on.
If we're going to have to fill time in the interest of well-being of a fighter, I'm glad at least we got a highlight that we can talk about over and over again. Antonio Duarte is now in his feet, responding more actively to the ringside position. Great sign to see. You never want anybody to get hurt, but holy smokes, you do want to see guys finish emphatically. And Francisco Rivera in his last 2 fights, I mean, apart from the Johnny Boneses of the world, the Anderson Silvas of the world, it's hard to think of guys, if you just ask someone, hey, who in MMA has had the most 2 dynamic finishes in their last 2 fights?
It's Francisco Rivera.
Yeah, I mean, he wiped out two solid fighters in brutal fashion. Just because you haven't heard of Antonio Duarte and most of his fights have come in northern Mexico, don't think him a lesser fighter. And not only that, he was dominated and dispatched in his realm. Antonio Duarte is a stand-up striker with a boxing background, and he just got absolutely nuked.
I told you, man, it's not the smartest thing in the world to stand with Francisco Rivera. And I call it, if he stands with him, Rivera's got tremendous power, and I wouldn't stand with him.
Fantastic stuff by Francisco Rivera, the knockout coming in the first round. We will go to Joe Martinez to get our official time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes 1 minute, 15 seconds, round number 1. Winner by KO victory and a win dedicated to his ailing mother, Cecilia Alvarado. Your winner, Francisco Rivera!
These dudes don't get paid by the hour.
Definitely not. And Francisco Rivera making that note in his last two top 10 college fights performances. What is the next step for Francisco Rivera in another fight here? Do you think this was enough to get the phone call from Sean Shelby to maybe get a fight in the UFC? Well, you never know. You got your medicals done. You're an entertaining guy. You're a UFC vet. Maybe they need someone on short notice. You're the guy. Johnny on the spot. But even if it's not, even if he keeps taking more fights at Tashi, in California, I'd like to see him face some tougher grapplers that are going to be dedicated to the takedown, because Brad McDonald had a level of, frankly, arrogance about his stand-up that got him clobbered, and in this case, Duarte, that's how he fights. That's what he's good at, stand-up. He tried what he was good at and unfortunately got crushed for it. I'd like to see a guy who wants to take Francisco Rivera down, who has confidence stand